For the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have a roll call, Mr. Gorski?
Ms. Antelis.
Here.
Ms. Arminio.
Here.
Mr. Braverman.
Here.
Mr. Chiarella.
Here.
Mr. Kaufman.
Here.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Here.
Mr. Nothstein.
Here.
Mr. Poi.
Here.
Mr. Prezioso.
Here.
Mr. Zarneski.
Here.
Madam Board President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted January 9th, 2013, or 2014, I would assume that should be, at all schools, Home News Tribune, Cranberry Press, and filed with the clerk of the municipality. And before we go into the rest of the agenda, I just have a statement to make regarding the agenda. I'm sure that those of you who picked up an agenda this evening here have found out that it was a little thicker than normal, about maybe 200 pages more than normal. To make a long story short, recently a member of the public filed a lawsuit against Midland Park Board of Education regarding not having attachments to agendas. This is the short version. Therefore, they were not able to understand some of the items on the agenda. The Superior Court of New Jersey ruled in his favor and said that attachments should be included with the agenda. One of my responsibilities as board president is setting the agenda, which I do every month with Dr. Hamilton and Mr. Gorski. There isn't very much to change every month. The agenda is usually set in policy. After consulting with Mr. Gorski and our attorney, my decision was for us to include the attachments with our agenda. Since we as a board feel we have nothing to hide and are very proud of the protocols that we have put in place throughout the district, I want to make sure that we are as transparent as possible in our community, to our community, and including the backup materials that is included with the agenda, and hope that this will help to bring trust back to the board. Many other districts have decided not to go in this direction and will not be including attachments to their agenda, but I believe that we should be doing that. There's still some information that is exempt from the disclosure under the Open Public Records Acts, such as personnel, student information, and anything that is advisory, consultative, or deliberative material. The attachments this evening is about 200 extra pages, as I said. So to keep green and save as many trees as possible, we are going to have a limited number of agendas with all the backup materials at our open meetings. They will be on the website, so that we ask that if you are interested in seeing them or you don't get here early, to please check the website before you come to a board meeting, and all the attachments will be there. Thank you. At this time, we will have reports from our student board members.
Good evening, everyone. The Monroe Township Middle School Chorus has recently had 6 students accepted into the Oaken National Choir. These students will travel to Atlanta, Georgia, and perform with the National Ensemble in March. Additionally, the 7th and 8th grade chorus has been invited to attend the ACDA choral workshop. At the workshop, students will perform pieces they have prepared in front of other New Jersey choirs. The 8th grade wind ensemble and chamber singers of MTMS performed for the residents of Forsgate and St. Peter's Adult Daycare before the holiday break. The retired community looked forward to and greatly enjoyed their performance. The New Jersey DECA Central Regional Conference took place last week. 150 of Monroe Township High School students competed in a variety of events, and 64 students qualified for the state conference, which will also take place in March. About half of the 64 qualifiers placed in the top 3 of their categories. At the state conference, students will be competing against other high school DECA students from all across New Jersey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Drama Club is presenting its Murder Mystery Dinner Theater on January 23rd and 24th. A pasta dinner will be served at Monroe Township High Schools, and the very own Drama Club will be performing a murder mystery show. As one of our own, if you may have heard, Mikey Nichols was recently traumatically injured in an ice hockey accident. The Monroe Township High School has responded greatly with support efforts. T-shirts were made and are currently being worn by winter athletes before games. Teachers participated in a video log. Avid students made banners for him that included inspirational quotes and handwritten get well messages. And the FCA is creating a prayer portion of an upcoming meeting to devote a prayer for Mikey. Many other efforts are taking place to show thought and support for Mikey. The MTHS has clearly demonstrated a great community and family unity through this tough time. There's a 4-hour session this Friday due to staff and service, and schools will be closed on January 20th due to Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Thank you.
Thank you. This time, we will be continuing in our spotlight of our schools, and tonight we will be presenting Brookside School. Dr. Hamilton, would you like to introduce Brookside?
Yes, at this time I will ask Dr. Alvick and Mr. Pepe, Principal and Vice Principal, to come up and set us up for this evening.
Good evening. I just want to tell you about how proud I am of working at Brookside School. Both Mr. Pepe and I are thrilled that we work there. We have a wonderful staff, wonderful students. So at this time, we're going to present a brief video of some of the great things that go on at Brookside. In addition to the great teachers and the learning going on in every classroom, we strive to give the students opportunities to reach their full potential and to participate in the many community service activities. So with the help of Boris Laddick and 2 of our former Brookside students, Vincent Arizzo and Danielle Paxton, we present to you our student council students.
Our student council is very active and have many activities going on throughout the year, where students can help get involved in their community. During October Breast Cancer Awareness Week, students raised money through the sale of bracelets, charms, pencils, and pink shoelaces. We also had a snack sale. All the proceeds went to the JSUMC Foundation in Neptune. The money will be used by the foundation for NC, no-cost mammograms.
In November, we focus on helping needy families locally and in the community. Students collected various canned and boxed food items. Student Council sponsored a bagel and juice sale, and all proceeds will go to help the Philippines Typhoon Family Relief Fund. Student Council members made Thanksgiving bags for children. Students in 5th grade donated Halloween candy and wrote thank you letters to the soldiers in Afghanistan.
In December, Student Council will sponsor a pajama day to raise money for the Illinois Tornado Families Relief Fund, and students across the grades will participate in collecting items for needy families in Asbury Park. We will work with an organization called Feeding Friends. The 3rd grade students will make goodie bags for children, 4th grade will collect scarves, hats, gloves for children, and the 5th grade will collect toiletries to make gift bags for adults.
We have more activities planned for the year. Like in January, we will participate in Pennies for Patients for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. In February, we will collect food and other things for a pet shelter in need. In March, we always collect food for the Middlesex County Food Drive. For the past 2 years, we have collected over 1,000 pounds of food. In April, we celebrate Autism Awareness and Cat Day to support kids in the community coping with and battling cancer. In May, we hold our annual Empty Bowls event.
Did you know that over 1 million people were food insecure and nearly 1 in 5 children go to bed hungry in New Jersey? Also, because of the high cost of living here, nearly 1 in 4 of New Jersey residents, which is more than 2 million people, are considered poor.
This is the 2nd year that our 5th graders will undertake a great program called Empty Bowls. In conjunction with the community, the PTA, and the high school students, they create a ceramic bowl and art crafts. This National Art Honor Society and Graphic Arts High School students help the 5th grade students glaze the bowls. Finally, the Honor Society students fire the bowls in a kiln to finish the bowl making process. The library teacher also teaches us about hunger in America and around the world.
After the bowls are finished, families and friends of Brookside students will be invited to a simple meal of soup, bread, and cookies. Families and guests will be allowed to keep the beautiful student-created bows for a cash donation. As a reminder of all empty bowls in New Jersey, all proceeds will be donated to a local food pantries in our community. Brookside School is going on our 6th year of participating in Hoops and Jump for Heart. As a school, we raise money to help support the American Heart Association. We learn the importance of taking care of our bodies through exercise, good nutrition, and making healthy choices. We have learned that some people are born with heart problems and some develop problems later in life. We strive to meet at least 60 minutes of exercise a day, eating right and getting proper rest to reduce the chances of a heart problem later in life. Students have participated in 5 basketball events: foul shooting, speed dribbling, 3v3, hot shot, and knockout, as well as our 4 jump rope events: team jump rope, partner jump rope, speed jump rope, and jump rope run. Students are encouraged to participate in any or all events. They work to find a class champion and then move on to find an overall grade champion in each event. It is a fun, great way to keep active and have fun with friends as they work to practice and encourage each other throughout the event. Participating in our Hoops and Jump for Heart event helps others through the donations we have raised, as well as the individual participating by exercising and taking part in a community service. As a school last year, Brookside raised $8,426.21. This is something we are very proud of our Brookside community and thankful for their generosity and helping fight the number one and 4 causes of death: heart disease and strokes. For the past several years, Lunch Bunch groups have been created at each grade level at Brookside School. The purpose of Lunch Bunch is to provide structured social opportunities for students with special needs along with regular education peers at their grade level. Peer models for this group are identified based on teacher recommendations. Peer model requirements include positive character traits such as kindness, respect towards others, and appropriate social skills. Regular education students are invited to Lunch Bunch on a rotating basis, which helps students with special needs generalize social skills and become acquainted with a large number of peers.
Lunch Bunch groups are scheduled during the students' lunch/recess period once per week. The group begins with an opportunity for a conversation while students are eating their lunch. Conversations are usually structured in game format. For example, choosing an open-ended question to answer out of a question basket. Following the lunch, the students play an age-appropriate game or activity as a group. As needed, visual supports and nonverbal cues are provided for the students with special needs in order to facilitate interaction and communication with their peers.
This year, students with special needs are invited to attend Lunch Bunch every other week in order to keep the group size small. On weeks that students with special needs do not attend Lunch Bunch, they are given lunch buddies to play with during recess time. This structure provides another opportunity to practice and generalize social skills and to build relationships among students and students with special needs and regular education peers. In addition to providing meaningful social interactions for students with special needs, Lunch Bunch also builds understanding and acceptance of differences among our school's general education students. This understanding relates directly to our school's anti-bullying initiatives and positive behavior support programs.
PALS is peer-assisted learning in social settings. Is a peer-mediated teaching model used here at Brookside to bring regular education students together with special education students in a teacher-supervised environment. Using this program for non-speaking students helped to greatly increase their vocabularies while decreasing their disruptive behavior. Regular education students and special education students participate in a variety of activities that are created to require the special education students to communicate. Regular education students learn patience and acceptance and show good citizenship throughout the program.
The Brookside Garden Program is a program that offers hands-on instructional opportunities for our students to gain experiential learning relating to the goals of the Common Core standards. Teachers incorporating the Brookside Garden into their lesson planning take learning to a new level by offering their students opportunities to experience a deeper insight into their learning. Students will use keen observation and critical and independent thinking skills as they work in our garden. In a sense, it helps to make the curriculum come to life. In addition to the curriculum-aligned benefits, garden learning opportunities foster an understanding of conversation, environmental stewardship, and an appreciation of the growth and life cycles of all living things. It also offers the opportunity to develop collaborative working skills with their peers. Gardening opportunities are also therapeutic in nature. Our special needs students are experiencing many benefits as students practice communication skills, receive opportunities for sensory exploration, develop gross and fine motor skills, and develop a sense of working with others for a common goal. The activities promoted for year to year vary as we explore new avenues. This year we have designated garden sites that have been adopted by various classes as various grade levels, as well as with the Special Areas program. This fall we have utilized our PTA's Brookside Garden grant monies to purchase garlic and tulip bulbs for fall planting. During the cold months, we explore more indoor-related gardening activities in preparation for the spring planting season. Classes have the freedom to incorporate any grade level related curriculum learning goal based on their particular unit of study. Activities are then shared at grade level meetings.
Our 5th grade students at Brookside are given an opportunity to participate in the School Safety Drill program, sponsored by AAA. At the beginning of the year, Dr. Alvick shared with all the 5th graders how the program works, and we were given the opportunity to apply for the position. 20 students were chosen for the first half of the year, and 20 more will be given the opportunity for the second half of the year. Our job is to help all Brookside and Brookside students safely arrive and dismiss from school on the buses. We take our position seriously and understand that we are helping to keep our school safe.
Our school rules are be safe, be kind, be respectful, and be responsible. When we follow these rules, we can receive blue coupons. At the end of each month, 3 coupons get chosen from each class box, and those students get to choose a reward. As a whole class, we can receive feathers for our class falcon. The classes at each grade level with the most feathers at the end of each month are rewarded the Falcon Trophy. As the whole school earns feathers, we add them up on a large feather in front of the school. When we reach a certain amount of feathers school-wide, we get special days like Pajama Day and lunch outside. So far this year, we have 136 feathers since October 1st. Last year, we collected over 750 feathers as a school.
Chorus is available to students in grades 4 and 5. Chorus students are either soprano or alto and are tested to determine which category they will fit into. We are looking forward to our winter concert where we will share these amazing voices with songs from different cultures to celebrate the holidays. Brookside holds many fun and educational assemblies during the school year. The PTA helps pay for many of our assemblies. Some topics our assemblies have covered are rocks and minerals, our school song, and fire safety. Brookside's assemblies are great and enjoyed by many students. Brookside School has many fun activities each day so the kids and teachers can take a break. Each day we go to specials like art, music, library, and gym. For some advanced students, they get into tag and attend special classes on assigned days of the week. In science tag, the 5th grade students work on projects and experiments. There is also art tag for 4th and 5th grade. Students also work on projects but is for an art tag art show. There is also math tag. That is for students for learn advanced math and getting challenged. Lastly, there is LAL tag. In LAL tag, the students do book reports, like projects, by reading a chapter book and then doing projects based on them. Specials and tag give Brookside students unique and fun ways to learn new things.
Thank you so much for listening to our presentation about all the great things happening at Brookside School. We want to thank the Board of Education and the staff of Monroe Township Schools for making these opportunities possible. Thank you.
don't get a chance to go into our schools that often, we'd like to thank you for bringing us a little glimpse of Brookside tonight. Okay, at this time, we will go to our public forum. Anyone from the public wishing to speak to the agenda, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Steve Ryback, 23 Riviera Drive. First, I'd like to pick up on what student reps said about Mike Nichols. Anyone watching today, and certainly all of us here, I'm sure support Mike, and we should all come together to show that support. And all of us, Mike, wish you a speedy recovery, 100% recovery. Thank you. I'd like to bring up some issues on the agenda today that I found a little troubling. The minutes of the December 18th meeting, which is an attachment to the agenda, makes no mention of the discussion on the recommended change to the nepotism policy, nor tabling of a motion to change it. That being said, I noticed that a recent board member's relative is listed as a special education para, which is classified as a new position. Now, even if we don't extend the nepotism policy, I believe that should still be covered by the current one, which prohibits, for a 6-month period, a relative getting a new position of a board member.
I do recall in the minutes that it did address the tabling of the motion.
I didn't see it in the minutes online. There was an attachment, rather, to the agenda.
It was in the minutes from the December meeting.
Right, that's what I was referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be in there. Perhaps we could go over it afterwards.
Okay. All right. And what about the question of, you're talking about that specific item that I mentioned, the position was addressed in that? That a former board member's relative is being offered a position today, on today's agenda?
I know that the policy states that a board member cannot have a position in the district for 6 months, but I don't think there currently is a policy where a board member's relative could not get a
That's correct.
position in the district.
Okay, I guess that's under the new proposed change to that policy then. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, my name is Charlie Lerman. You live in Durrell Drive. The township master plan permits a significant number of non-age restricted clustered and non-clustered development.
Is this something that's on the agenda?
No.
Then you have to wait for the second
Okay,
public
fine.
forum.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else want to speak to the agenda?
It's in regards to Corey's comment about DECA.
About who?
Corey's comment about DECA.
That is not on the agenda, so we'll
Okay,
have...
so I would do it, all right. Okay.
Is this an agenda question?
Yes.
Okay.
Lou Masters, 9 Michaela Court. This is intimidating. Item L, which is the Denny Moore Show. What is that, and is the total cost $538 or $179?
That's under personnel or board action?
That is
Page
under
8.
personnel, yes. Page 8, yes, correct.
All right, so what's your question, Mr. Master?
What is it, and what's the total? Is it 4 times 3 times 44, or just 4 times 44?
It is 4 times 3 times 44.
Okay, 538. What is it?
It's a play. It's the one. It's their spring or spring production.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Excuse me, but I think it is on the agenda under field trips.
In there?
Are we...
Yep.
Okay.
Joanne Cardone, Gravel Hill, Spotswood Road. I had the honor of chaperoning the January 9th trip that Corey has been on with me for a few years now, the DECA competition at Middlesex. We had, again, proudly, at least 1/3 of our students become finalists. But one thing that Corey did not know about, because we were just informed today, is that 3 of our students qualified for the international competition Thrive, which automatically entitles them to participate in the Atlanta trip. We were one of 12 schools in the state to have this honor. So that adds 3 more to our finalists, and I think we had 50. So it was better than 1/3 of our staff.
Excellent.
I mean, our students.
Great.
So I'm proud to say that I enjoy doing that trip, and I hope the board continues to support us as we go into state competition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Yes, it's on the agenda. Ira Tesla, 11 Elliott Drive. Under field trips, there's 2 field trips with costs listed next to it. One is partially funded by the district and students, and one fully funded by the district. I just want to know if you can tell me what determines whether a field trip is funded by the students and the district, or totally funded by the district.
Dr. Gorman, you're going to
It's
take that?
curriculum based. So the cheerleading competition, for example, is part of the curriculum. So we paid for registration only.
Okay.
But kids took care of all travel
Right.
and all expenses. The DECA is directly integrated into the curriculum at the high school.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Good evening. Excuse me. John Kuhns, 11 Fox Run. On page 17 of your agenda, second to the last paragraph. Actually, I find this sort of embarrassing, the Board of Education. In your 3rd sentence down, you have both a grammatical and a spelling error in your agenda. That's sort of, I find that embarrassing that the people in charge of teaching our children to read and write have a mistake on their agenda. That's handed
Where
out.
is it?
Page 17, second to the bottom paragraph, 3rd line down, beginning with no more than 3. Yeah, I would think somebody proofreads these, but apparently not. Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
we will check that, correct it. Anyone else wish to speak to the agenda? Seeing no one, we will close that public forum and go to the revised public meeting schedule will be voted on under the Business Administrator's report. So we will go to the approval of minutes for the Public Board of Education meeting for December 18, 2013. So moved by Mr. Chiarella, second by Ms. Santalis. Any revisions to that? Mr. Prezioso?
December 18th meeting had quite a bit of information about the nepotism policy that we were bantering back and forth for almost an hour. And the minutes had absolutely really no information. So I think it should be revised.
You wanted to revise it how? Because I think
The
it's,
part where we were debating about the nepotism policy.
isn't there discussion in there about the nepotism policy?
One on the website, 2 paragraphs long. And we spent an hour on it.
But we don't put our minutes verbatim.
Madam.
Mr. Gorski?
There was a motion made, and it didn't tell you what type of motion it was. It was tabled.
Mr. Prezioso, the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, has a guidance that dictates the minute-keeping requirements, and it illustrates that public bodies must keep reasonably comprehensible minutes of all their meetings. At a minimum, the minutes must reflect the time and the place, members present, subjects considered, actions taken, and the votes of each member. We've discussed our minute keeping at policy meetings in the past, and our attorney consistently reviews our minutes, and the consensus of all is that our minutes at least meet the minimum reasonably comprehensible guidelines, and in fact, quite often we put more information in the minutes than is required or that of our peers. So the minutes are not designed to capture the verbatim transcript of the event, but the essence of the argument, and I believe it does.
Well, you have something here down at the board education business where you have a former board member bantering back and forth with the member of the public. So I don't see how that's important. Why would it be in the minutes? Why shouldn't we have important things like this nepotism policy that we wanted to push or that was presented, and there's very little information about it? So it's just bringing up an issue.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, then all in favor? Opposed?
No.
Mr. Prezioso is opposed.
Abstain.
Abstains?
Yeah,
Michelle and Tom. Ms.
For the
Arminio?
December 18th, correct.
Yes.
Abstain.
And Tom, not abstain. The closed session, approval of minutes for the closed session meeting of December 18th, 2013.
So moved.
Mr. Chiarella? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Zarneski. Any revisions to that? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain? Okay. Lou, Amy, Michelle, and Tom.
So noted.
Okay. The approval of the minutes for the Public Board of Education meeting of January 2nd, 2014. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Notstein, second by Ms. Arminio. Any revisions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Mr. Chiarella, Ms. Antelis, Mr. Braverman. Thank you very much. This time, we will go to committee reports, but before we do, I have a little subject on committees. Just for the public, our board committees have been established, our board members have received their assignments, chairs have been selected, and we will soon be having our committee meetings back. My responsibility as board president is to assign committees and the chairs, and once I do that, is the responsibility of each chair to conduct their meetings along with the administrator for that committee. For instance, curriculum would be Dr. Gorman, personnel Dr. Hamilton, finance Mr. Gorski. It is important for our board members to try to hold monthly meetings, preferably for a week before a board meeting, so that it gives enough time for discussion before we put anything on the agenda. The date, time, and place are up to the chair, but I would suggest having it at the same time each month. For instance, the second Tuesday of the month at 6 o'clock or whatever. Keep it consistent so that the public has an idea of when each meeting is. When scheduling meetings, please keep in mind the members of your committee, because some of them have flexible schedules and some of them do not have flexible schedules. So we want to make sure that the meetings are scheduled when everybody has a chance to come. And we will make sure that the committee meeting dates are put on the website along with any agenda if we have one before the meeting. I'm going to ask that if any board member is not able to attend a meeting, to please call Mr. Gorski's office and talk to him or his secretary Nancy so that we can get an alternate to the meeting. And lastly, in order to make sure that we are in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, only committee members from the board will be allowed in committee meetings. Any other board members will no longer be allowed to attend any committee meetings as a member of the public. So at this time, are there any committees that need to report this evening? Mr. Prezioso?
Does this include the alternates?
The alternates are part of the, no, the alternates will be called if a member of the committee is not available.
Allowed to attend.
They are not allowed to attend, because that would make a quorum. We have 5 people on a committee.
Is the quorum 6?
No. Yeah, that would make a quorum. We don't want to have a quorum on our committees. Are there any committees that need to report? Ms. Antelis?
We had a Buildings and Grounds meeting prior to today's meeting. And Mr. Gorski, I'm going to turn the first item over to you, the ROD grant approval status.
Good evening. Prior to the gubernatorial election, the governor announced grants for school districts called regular operating grants, ROD grants, and these are designed to help schools improve their facilities. The need for this has arisen from the fact that the cap that was imposed in 2010 made it almost impossible for school districts to budget for large capital improvement projects like roofs within the general operating budget with a 2% addition to the general fund tax levy. Monroe has tackled a couple such projects in the past within the budget, but statewide there is deteriorating facilities no matter where you look. So these ROD grants were designed to help schools improve and add on to existing facilities. Monroe immediately applied for 4 projects, and one was split into 2. The first and most important one that's included as a budget priority was stopgap measures at the Monroe Township Middle School to make internal renovations for space, creating 9 new classrooms to deal with overcrowding. The project cost was $2.2 million, and the state's share was about $900,000. That project, we were verbally told recently from state officials, was denied. The second project was Monroe Township Middle School window replacement project. This was a longer-term visionary project for us as it was not a priority and it was designed for energy and efficiency improvements, but not an immediate need to the school. This project was approved. The project cost is a little over $1 million, and the 40% state ROD grant contribution is a little over $400,000. The third project was a priority for us, and that's the Monroe Township Middle School instructional wing roof replacement and site upgrades. The state of New Jersey has denied the site upgrade piece, which is lends to part of the drainage, but has approved the re-roof project at a project cost of about $1.2 million, and the state's portion is about $500,000. And the fourth project was the Monroe Township Middle School restoration of tennis courts, which is part of the curriculum. This would have been a nice project because the community greatly uses those tennis courts, and if the state was going to help provide the restoration of these, it would have been a project that I'm sure the board would have considered, but that project was denied. So despite the state's statements early on that these projects were a priority, that the money was available, once again, we're left with a broken promise and only partial grant approvals at this point. And again, that's the window project that was not a big priority, and the re-roof project. So these are disappointing to say the least. Building, Grounds, and Transportation met this evening and decided to proceed and take advantage of the state's award for the partial re-roof project and include the district's 60% portion of that in the budget, and to take on whatever internal renovations at the middle school are most immediately needed and can be done in accordance with the calendar through board funds.
The other items we discussed was the district IT equipment for recycling and disposal or sale. This is our list of broken equipment that hopefully we will be able to sell. And the last item was the discussion of the Applegarth boiler. And according to Jerry Tague, we've been told that the boiler, while it's not the greatest boiler in the world, is not in critical condition at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Angelis. Is there any questions for Amy? Ms. Arminio?
Yes. So what was, in terms of the ROD grants, do we have, I know they were split up in 4 sections, but do we have a total of what we requested and a total of what we received? Okay, is this?
Yes.
Is that for me, though? Or is that yours? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. He's adding them.
Bear with me.
He's, sorry.
Is there any other questions, Paul?
And maybe we could send out one of those to
to everybody. I'm sorry, Mr.
The total applied for exceeded just over $5 million.
Okay.
And again, the only projects that were approved was the Monroe Township Middle School re-roof project without the site upgrades, and that's a $1.2 million project without the site upgrades, and the state's portion is about $500,000. And aside from that, the Monroe Township Middle School window replacement project was approved at a project cost of just over $1 million with the 40% ROD grant contribution of about $400,000. What was denied was the most critical stopgap measures at the middle school to do internal renovations for space creation. That was a project of $2.2 million. And the restoration of the tennis courts at about $300,000. And of course, the site upgrade piece of the roof, which is part of the roof, in our opinion, and lends to better drainage and runoff for the roof.
Okay.
And that was denied.
And you had indicated we already have monies put aside for one of these projects?
We had, the board had, in its budget philosophy development meeting, recommended about $1.5 million of district share monies to be put aside in the capital outlay fund for the stopgap measures at the middle school, creating additional space, and the design costs for the roof replacement project. So what Building Grounds and Transportation recommended again tonight was to substitute, instead of the stopgap measure project that's currently in the budget, the re-roof project, and to do as many internal classroom renovations as possible, and which coincide with the calendar.
Okay. Anyone else? Mr. Poy.
Essentially, I just want to make a comment about a statement that you made earlier, Madam President, concerning our committee meetings. And I just want to say that I'm disappointed that non-committee members that are on the board basically are banned from those meetings going forward, yet in the past it appeared that they could attend. I know in the past the rule was that they could not comment, could not participate in the discussion. Therefore, they were essentially operating in the capacity as any other member of the public. What I found beneficial about being able to attend those committee meetings whenever I could was that I was better informed as a member of the board in terms of what the discussions and deliberations were, and I had a better understanding of what the recommendations that were coming out of that committee were. So I am disappointed that we are losing the benefit of being able to do that. And I would simply say that I would hope we can find some way in the future that if a member of the board who is not a member of the committee cares to attend one of those meetings, that they could do so with the understanding that they have to keep their mouth shut at the entire time. So just a comment I wanted to share with you.
The question came up very recently from a new board member, so we checked with the attorney, and the attorney advice was to not have board members attend committee meetings.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying I'm very disappointed in that, and I think we actually lose more than we gain.
Well, we do send the committee notes home on Fridays with the confidential, so that will have the synopsis of what happened at committee meetings. Mr. Notstein?
Thank you, Madam Board President. With regard to Mr. Poy's comments, I too feel the same way, and as you know that I'm the one that kind of, I guess, brought this up. As much as I hate it, I'm also an advocate for open public meetings and following the law. I realize that if we're going to announce these meetings and make them public, they'll also have to have a public forum, and it changes the whole dynamic of a committee meeting, and at that point, you might as well just have a committee of the whole at that point, because it really gets unruly. However, because we don't want to lose something, I can't believe there's not a way that we could possibly record these meetings and make that available to members that may require it or may request that. Certainly in the age of the digital age now, I would think that we'd easily be able to put just a recorder in there and then make that available to the other committee members if they so desire.
That would be something we would have to go through the policy committee to see if they would want to do something like that.
Thank you.
And then go to the full board. Ms. Armenio?
Just a quick comment. I'd just like to be clear that the public is still able to attend those meetings.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's just board members cannot be considered a member of the public anymore.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Seeing none, we'll go to the superintendent's report. Dr. Hamilton?
Yes, good evening all. Before I get into my report, I just want to share a few a few things from the last few days. Firstly, I want to commend our transportation department for handling the unexpected icy conditions so well. We immediately halted all buses on the roads after the temperatures dropped to unsafe conditions drastically. In consultation with my colleagues, it caught all of us off guard. And fortunately, because of the swift thinking and cooperation of our transportation staff and our two-way radios, which made life a lot easier for us that day, we had no district buses involved in any accidents, and all of our students arrived safely. So I do want to commend our transportation department for an exceptional job in that, under those conditions. I also want to address yesterday, we had, I tried to keep the board as informed as I could, given the urgency of the matter, but there was reports of gunshots heard in the vicinity of the middle school yesterday, and the school did go into a shelter in place as a precaution, and of course the police confirmed that there were hunters in the back of the school, which is not unusual. So they ultimately decided to use that as an opportunity to implement one of the drills for the year. But I also have a statement from the police department that just came over this morning, and they essentially provided me with a copy of the ordinance regarding hunting in Monroe, and the synopsis of the incident from the police standpoint is that the hunters were well beyond the school boundaries according to the ordinance. They were beyond the boundaries near the post office as well. They were properly licensed. They were discharging their weapons in a safe direction toward the tree line. And the only thing that they were able to determine was that the sound of the weapons being fired created alarm, and no student or staff member was in any danger at any time when the police arrived. So I just wanted to share that information with you as well, because I know it got some media attention. We're also in the process of working on our 2014-2015 budget, and Mike is going to give you a brief update during the BA report. And I've been in constant conversations with Mr. Nichols, Michael's dad, and he provided me with an update today. He says that Michael is really starting to turn for the better. He is scheduled to have the breathing tube replaced with the trach tomorrow, which is the next step for getting him totally back to breathing on his own. He says that Mikey is extremely determined to regain his strength and often has to be reined in because he's actually pushing himself a little too much. He will soon be moved to another facility. And what really touched me today was while I was talking to him, his wife was reading letters and cards from Mikey's Abbott team, which has been a tremendous source of strength for him through this process. And it says a lot about the efficacy of the Abbott program and the collaboration and camaraderie that program has developed. And he just went on about how the Abbott kids have been such a source of strength for Mike in addition to the community, and he sends his thanks and appreciation for all that's been going on. And moving on to the superintendent's report, you have the attendance, the student enrollment data enclosed in your report for this month. You will note a notation for correction on the November numbers for the high school. Our enrollment for out-of-district placement and homebound instruction is also included in your agenda, along with the lockdown and fire drills for the month of December at all of our sites. Moving on to personnel items, Madam Board President and members of the Board of Education, it is recommended by the superintendent that personnel items A through Q be approved by roll call vote.
Mr. Chiarella, would anybody like to second it? Second by Mr. Kaufman. Okay. Is there any comments or questions for Dr. Hamilton? Mr. Chiarella?
Just under O, it says following the step-on guide. That should be step one, I would imagine.
Where's that? O, you said?
Oh, yes.
No, that's step-on guide.
Step-on guide?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Thinking steps.
Nice.
Mr. Notstein?
With regards to under item P, Miss Laura Tesler, how many hours does she currently work? And how many will she work if approved?
We should probably address this in generic terms because this individual has not been riced. So we should not have open discussions about an individual. But in this regard, the person assigned to provide assistance for this individual student will be a maximum of 3.75 hours per day, part-time status.
And that's what she's currently doing now, is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Would she or could she have been hired if her husband was still a board member?
Yes.
If she's not approved this evening, will there be any change in her
Oh, if he was still a board member?
Correct.
I stand corrected, no. Misheard your question.
Oh, I'm sorry. So let me clear this up. Would she have been hired if her husband had been re-elected?
No.
She would not have been allowed to be rehired.
No, ma'am. No, sir.
If she's not approved this evening, will there be any change in her status with regards to the students currently in her care?
I'm sorry. Please repeat.
If she's not approved this evening, will there be any change in her status with regards to the student currently in her care?
No.
Why are we considering this evening with the nepotism policy revision currently scheduled to be reviewed in policy?
I've presented personnel recommendations as I would under any other conditions. Absent any pending policies, my responsibility is to make these recommendations, and it's up to the board to approve or not approve these recommendations.
So you could not have made this recommendation this evening if her husband was reelected. I just want to reiterate that. That's an accurate statement.
It would not have, yes. That is
So
correct.
obviously this isn't that important to do this evening, and I urge my fellow members to please not approve this evening because we need to discuss this in the nepotism policy. This to me seems like a blatant end run around the nepotism policy, and I don't think that's really looking out for the best interests. Nepotism has a way of blurring qualifications, and I think that we need to instill the trust between this board and the town and our citizens and say, since at the end of the day, the most important thing is the education of our students. You've told me that nothing's going to change if it's not approved this evening. That was very important to me because I realize how important this position is. I am not questioning the qualifications of this individual. I've done a little research and everything is fantastic. So that is never under discussion this evening. What's under discussion, as far as I'm concerned this evening, is why are we doing this? Why are we making an end run knowing that the nepotism policy was brought up? So please take that into consideration when you're all voting. Thank you.
And I just want to go on record to saying that my decision to add these recommendations on this agenda are not person-specific. These recommendations are made with particularly those folks who will be working directly with classified youngsters, maybe because these are the people who work best with these youngsters, and in my estimation is the best interest of those youngsters. So I just want to go on record for saying that.
But again, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Has she already, this position, she's already working with this student?
Yes.
And do you know about how long? So
since sometime in October.
Okay. So basically what you want to do is not have her work with the child anymore? Is that what you're saying?
Of course not. And that's why I thought
I don't understand, because in 6 months, she could be hired anyway. I don't understand, like, what is the discrepancy? We're not talking about a principal position. We're not talking about a high-paying position. We're talking about a para position of a woman who has already been doing it. She has established a relationship with the child. She's not receiving benefits. It's a part-time position. I'm not quite understanding why.
Madam Board President, I'd like to encourage you to cease the conversation because this individual has not been riced. If there's a recommendation to not approved, then I'd ask that the board call for a vote on it. Or if there's a recommendation to do something else, that there should be a motion made to do that. But the discussion is getting a little too specific.
Well, I just have a problem with this because Mr. Nostine seems to be indicating that you're doing something shady. That's what it sounds like, and you're not. And as long as I've been on this board, I've never seen anyone do anything underhanded, sneaky, like you're talking about. And I really think you do a discredit to the administration by what you're saying.
Can I, Madam President?
As long as we are
speak?
not
Right.
specifically talking about this position anymore, you can speak.
First of all, I am not inferring anything. I think that the record speaks for itself. Ms. Antilles knows we have a nepotism policy. She's obviously in favor of nepotism. It's pretty evident. And I
No,
think
I'm in favor of
that
good
we need.
people
Please,
working
I
in
have
the
a
Ms. Antilles?
That's what I'm in favor
Ms.
of.
Antilles?
I think we need to keep in mind that it is about the children, and that's why this decision to me was fairly easy, because I was informed that nothing will change. We're going back to that things will change if it's not approved, and I think that we need to stress that nothing will change if she's not approved.
All she was
We
a
are not,
substitute.
she
She could be changed at any
this
time.
conversation about a specific person is going to cease right now.
Right.
And I just want to clarify the nepotism policy. At this point, the policy states that any board member cannot have a position in this district until they've been out of the district or out of being a board member for 6 months. It does not, there is nothing in that policy that states that a board member's family member cannot have a position right away. Any future nepotism policy could or could not be approved by this board. But that's something that's at least 2-3 months down the line. This board has to go by the policies it holds now and not by something that potentially could be approved or not approved in the future. So that's just to clarify the policy we have in place at this particular time.
Excuse me, Madam Board President, so what you're saying then is the answer that I received was incorrect. If he was a member now, she could be.
No.
Oh.
No. Once the board members is off the board,
Oh, I got you.
then
I'm sorry.
board member's family member has the right to have a position. The board member does not, but the family member does. The board member cannot have a position in this district for 6 months. A family member, there is no limit, no time limit. Any other questions? Mr. Prezioso?
This item was tabled the last time we got together. I don't understand if it's
The
an important
nepotism
issue.
policy was
Yes.
tabled, yes.
We should have had a policy meeting so we could have voted on this.
We did not have enough time for me to
Well,
get
you had
the,
time for buildings and grounds, right? So why not policy, which is so important to many members on the board? I just find that hard to believe. That's all I have to say.
Ms. Arminio?
President Kalpanowicz, just in terms of the policy, the nepotism policy and ethics, it's very often stated that a perception of impropriety is just as important as an actual act. So I think giving the public perception and my own, prior to my being a board member, my own concerns dating just about a year ago, that certain policies should be put into consideration when making some of the decisions in this. But also I have a question on P with the MECA. It says a MECA custodian. Is the MECA custodian transferring from MECA to another school, or is he transferring into the MECA program?
There's a change in hours. There's no additional person added. Just folks are being switched from a full-time position to a part-time position, and someone who was in a part-time position is moving to fill those other duties.
Okay, I still don't understand. Is this person going under the MECA program? Has a custodian for that program been assigned already, or is this?
There's always been a custodian there, yes.
And any of the budgetary expenditures has counted this custodian in, or a custodian in that?
Actually, I'm not sure of that. Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Just let me,
Oh,
one,
I'm sorry.
no, my mistake. So, the MECA budget will not be changed based on this transfer? Any expenditures to the MECA budget won't be changed?
No.
Mr., yes? No?
No, it
Okay.
will not be changed.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Poi?
Just to comment on the earlier discussion, and I'll try to keep this as general as I can. It just strikes me that this particular recommendation is untimely because we are in the midst of discussing revisions to the nepotism policy. And I do not see the wisdom in ignoring the fact that we are going to consider that in the near future, I would hope, and moving ahead with this. So I do have reservations about that particular recommendation.
Thank you. Anyone else? Then at this time, we will have a roll call.
Personnel items A through Q. Ms. Antelis?
Yes.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes, with the exception of P, Laura Tesler.
So noted. Mr. Braverman?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Mr. Zarneski?
Yes to everything. I want to abstain from P.
And that's for that same specific person?
Just abstain from
For the
P.
whole block? So noted. Mr. Kaufman? Yes. Mr. Nussstein?
Yes, with the exception of P. Laura Tesler.
So noted. Mr. Precioso?
Yes, with the exception of Laura Tesla.
So noted. Mr. Poi?
Yes, with the exception of item P, Laura Tesler.
Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, personnel items A through Q passes with the exception of P. Ms. Tesler, because there
No, you got
is,
5 and you got 4 no's
There-
and 1 abstention.
it requires 6 to pass.
Okay,
And we have 1 abstention and 4 noes.
okay.
Moving on to board action items, Madam Board President, it's recommended by the superintendent that board action items A through K be approved by roll call vote.
So moved.
Mr. Chiarella?
Second.
Second by Ms. Antelis. Are there any comments or questions? Ms. Arminio?
Board action item C, previously submitted list of student teachers for the school year, and that was previously submitted before January 2nd.
Yes.
So would I need to abstain from that?
Yes.
Madam? Previously submitted in that reference refers to, it's been previously submitted to the board members prior to this meeting this evening.
Oh, okay. I just, but the list was determined before January 2nd, is that correct?
No.
Not necessarily.
Not
It was
necessarily. Okay.
for this board meeting.
Okay,
So you
thank
can approve it or disapprove it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Mr. Poi?
A clarification on item K. I'm assuming that tuition rate is a daily rate?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Chiarella?
Just on item H, the
H?
job description for security guard, is that what that's the revision we did in
That is,
personnel?
yes.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll have a roll call.
Ms. Antelis?
Yes.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes.
Mr. Braverman?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman? Yes. Mr. Nussstein?
Yes.
Mr. Precioso?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, board action items A through K passes.
Thank you.
And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay, we will go on to the business administrator's report. Mr. Gorski?
Madam Board President, I would like to take action on the report and then give my update for the budget,
Okay.
if that satisfies you. Madam Board President, members of the Monroe Township Board of Education, it is recommended that board action items A through L be approved by consent roll call.
So moved.
Mr. Chiarella?
Second.
Second by Ms. Antelis. Are there any comments or questions for Mr. Gorski?
Just on J, anyone?
Yes.
Just, what is the web filter software? What is, I don't understand what that is.
Web filter software is a screening device to keep improper elements out of the network, viruses, inappropriate content, and things of that nature. And it was determined that this web filter that we had previously could not keep up with the bandwidth and everything that the district had expanded through recommendations of the board. And as such, the web filter was slowing the entire network down to a crawl, and it was the recommendation of our technology director to alleviate this with a cost-effective fix, which is simply a new web filter.
Anyone else? Ms. Arminio?
On that same matter, is the Trebron, is that like a third party?
No, that's the manufacturer of the web
Oh, that's the
software.
manufacturer, and the contract for $20,000, and that had to be signed before December 30th, is that correct? According to what I read here, I think one of the recommendations or the criteria for the contract to be enforced. And we, I'm sorry, I should have marked it myself.
The cost is confirmed, $20,000, and the contract has not been signed or executed yet. It's waiting for board approval tonight.
Oh, okay. Oh, so buyer's license for the, oh. Okay, I see. Thank you.
Ms. Arminio?
Yeah, on the Board of Education.
Ms. Antelis, now we have 2 A's.
On the Board of Education meeting dates, I believe there's an error on the February one. You have that as February 3rd, but that's a Monday?
It should be Monday, February 3rd.
It should be Monday, February 3rd?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that
'Cause
we've
it says
done an
Wednesday.
electronic replacement for that in our email.
Oh, okay. Because,
think-
yeah, it says Wednesday on there.
Mr. Prezioso?
Yes, getting back to web filter software and item J. I don't know too much about computers, but can we block some of the information that the kids are getting on their iPads in the high school with something like that? And a YouTube
We
or
can,
something?
oh, Mr. Kaufman might have an answer.
The web filter is applied to the servers that connect to the outside of the building, so it would restrict certain sites, both outbound and inbound.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call.
Ms. Antelis?
Yes.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes.
Mr. Braverman?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Nothstein?
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, Board action items A through L passes.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to continue my report with an update to the Board of Education and the public regarding the Monroe Township Board of Education 14-15 budget. The chronology so far consists of the following. The Board of Education had a meeting on September 25th where a board philosophy governing the 14-15 budget was established. And in that meeting, considerations for increased enrollment, consideration for school construction needs, consideration for school transportation needs, consideration for special education staff expansion needs, considerations for negotiations with 2 groups, the Monroe Township School Administrators Association, which has since been ratified in a collective negotiation agreement, and the Monroe Township Education Association will impact its 14-15 budget. And the conclusion of that meeting, the board recommended the following actions. That the Board of Education dedicate $2.5 million of construction Monroe Township High School bond surplus to tax relief for 14-15. That's $1 million less than the preceding year, and it leaves a balance remaining of a few $100,000. The Monroe Township Board of Education would proceed with construction projects, specifically the stopgap measures at the middle school and the design cost component of the roof replacement project As we discussed this evening, we had disappointing news from the State Department that the stopgap measures, which are most critical a need to facilities, has been denied. So the recommendation from Building, Grounds, and Transportation tonight was to substitute the roof replacement project and also do as many internal renovations at full district expense as possible on an emergent basis, and that which conforms with the school calendar. The board's recommendation continued to expand the child study team by one additional team. And the benefits of this impact the budget because the child study team does evaluations on students, and it's recommended that with more professional help in that regard, students could actually be brought back into districts, saving money. The board also recommended that the budget be constructed to stay within the very constrictive state 2% tax levy cap, and also to not only buy the state-mandated replacement buses, but to buy a couple others to replace those that are over 12 years old with severe rust. Next, the budget calendar was adopted by the board on December 18th, 2013. That shows the important dates that are statutorily driven, and that's available on the website. And then Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Gorman, and I began to meet with the principals to engage in what's called defense rounds, budget defense rounds. Principals at these meetings have to defend all of their budgeted items and demonstrate that they conform with board goals and that they're efficient and that there's a need for such. These are zero-based budgets that begin with the teachers and their recommendations for supplies and needs in the classroom that go to the principal, and a budget is developed from scratch and turned over to administration. All of these budgets were revised, and we have received them all back now. Dr. Hamilton and I and Dr. Gorman also met with the technology department, the facilities department, and the transportation department, where in certain cases we made use of estimates from third parties, experts in line of items like healthcare rate projections for next year, and also energy costs, electric, natural gas, oil, gasoline, diesel. All of these are beyond the sophistication of the administrative team, so we use experts in that regard who are a part of the professional appointments anyway. Currently, with the budgets assembled into one master budget, we are not in balance. We are $2 million over budget. And that is actually favorable for this first assembly of the budget because in prior years it's not uncommon to be $4 million, $5 million over budget. So I think the conservative direction has been received by all the recipients, and it's being prepared more conservatively. To reduce the budget to cap, administration is going to meet, and we're going to review and examine certain special education accounts and perhaps recommend a reallocation of resources, not impacting any students, but to operate more efficiently. We're also going to review some of the estimates that have been put in place in the budget. PERS pension contribution is a significant one that's not available until right at the time of the final budget adoption. So we have an estimate in there, and we'll revisit that. Utility costs and health insurance costs are also estimates that we'll see if we can tighten up with this extra time that we have available to us. Dr. Hamilton has also performed a co-curricular audit and an audit of the athletic programs. And Dr. Gorman and I are going to look at those categories for potential savings and curriculum realignment. In addition to that, once the budget's put together and it's to cap, a very important piece is the ratables. And this is a very important component for Monroe residents to understand this part this year. Ratables are the property valuations that share the tax levy. And this year in Monroe, there was a reevaluation of all the ratables throughout town. And that's going to cause an anomaly in comparing this year's budget to last year. Because what happens in general terms is the property valuations double and the tax rate gets cut in half. And one potential problem of that is our preliminary budget meeting is early in March, and our final budget adoption is in the latter part of March. The reevaluation process has lent itself that the certified ratables are not going to be available to the Board of Education until March 15th, right in the middle of those two budget adoptions. So for the preliminary budget hearing, you're going to see an asterisk when it comes to the tax rate because it's based upon preliminary ratable subject to change. And the final numbers will be available again by March 15th. So for the final budget adoption, they'll be tight and you'll know exactly what the tax impact is going to be. And we talked about the ROD grants already. That was a great disappointment because, as everybody knows, Monroe is underserved in terms of state aid, and this would have afforded us an opportunity to deal with some of the facility needs. But it appears that the state does not have any ample money available for this critical project. So that is my budget update. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be more than happy to entertain them.
Okay, seeing none. I had asked Mr. Gorski to make that report tonight because we didn't have time to have a finance meeting this week. So I just wanted to give the public an update. At this time, we'll go to the board president's report, and I'll try to keep this really short because I've talked enough tonight. For the board members, anyone who would like to have a tour of the schools, if you're not familiar with them, we will set up a tour between, call Mike's office, he'll set up a tour with him and Jerry or whomever, and hopefully we can limit this to one tour for everybody instead of separate board tours. So it'll be good for you to get familiar for our schools. Next, the ad hoc committee, our ad hoc committee on growth and facilities. We're finally going to be able to meet again. We got the latest update on our, what were we looking for? Demographers report. Yes, thank you. We have right now a tentative date of meeting on Tuesday, March 4th at 6 o'clock for about an hour. We will go over the updated demographers report and continue the discussion on where we're going to go with the influx of children that we expect in the next few years. We all know that Applegarth School needs some major work done that cannot be accomplished under the general operating budget, and we will be needing a decision soon on where we want to go in this community. So I invite any member of the public who would wish to attend and have a say in this major decision to attend this meeting, when we will have that meeting, the date and the time and the place posted on the website. I also, about a month ago, December maybe, there was some information going around our district that the Monroe Township graduation rate was about 54%. So there happened to be an article in NJ.com on December 20th with the high school graduation rates of every high school in New Jersey. So I'm really happy to say that Monroe's graduation rate is 95.6%. And just to compare that to some of the other schools around us, Old Bridge is 92.4%, Edison's rate is 93.9%, West Windsor, Plainsboro, and South Brunswick are 95.9%, which is just like, almost exactly like ours. East Brunswick is 96.4%. And the only two schools that have 100% graduation rate is Ocean County Vocational and Union County Vocational. So I'm very happy that our graduation rate is so high in Monroe. And lastly, I know we've talked about it a few times today, to continue with our prayers for Mikey. Mikey Nichols is our senior who had a ice hockey injury and broke his neck and is now in the hospital. And we need to continue to pray for him so that he recovers. It's not just the Monroe community, everybody outside of this community and outside of this state, and especially in the hockey world, has been very supportive of Mikey. I know the New Jersey Devils, the New York Rangers, and hockey venues in and out of New Jersey, Connecticut, Chicago, are all supporting Mikey. So we need to continue to pray for his recovery. And I hope to see him back on the ice someday. At this time, we'll go to other Board of Education business. Is there any business from any member of the Board of Education? Mr. Prezioso.
Yes, on the ad hoc committees, could we have one in January before the next?
Well, we are setting it up with the chairperson of the ad hoc committee, Mr. Hamoki. So I know he's going to be away for a while, and I think that's the first day that will be good for him.
Well, if it's going to have a direct impact on the budget, when was the last time?
It's not going to have any impact on the budget.
When was the last time we had a meeting?
Probably very late last spring. We were waiting for the demographer's report. We got that in October, but it was a tentative one, and we just got that one probably in December. So now that we have the finished demographer's report, we will be working on
It
that.
seems like we're waiting a long time to get the committee together, so.
Well, if we got the report in December and we just contacted Mr. Hamoki, that's the first available dates he has, and he's the chair of that committee. Anyone else? Mr. Chiarella?
Yes, I just have a few things. I apologize for missing our last meeting, so I just wanted to officially welcome Mr. Nothstein and Ms. Arminio, and I wanted to also congratulate you, Madam President, and Mr. Poi on his vice presidency. Also, I just wanted to mention a couple things that have been going on with regards to the rec board. I'm the liaison from the Board of Ed to the rec board. And the 7th grade basketball team took the Mid-Monmouth Championship, so that's pretty big news. Grandparents' Day, the town had a Grandparents' Day, and the rec board wanted me to convey to the board and to the administration and also to the children the importance of the Key Club and how much help they were during that event. So they said that the kids from the Key Club were wonderful. They just wanted to, keep maintaining that relationship and hope that stays a vital part of what we do, and maintaining the Key Club. As far as Mikey goes, and I want to thank you, I think you, Dr. Hamilton and Kathy, you did a great job in honoring Mikey. But there's also a Facebook page it's Pray for Mikey 23. And from what I understand from the rec board, that Joe Isola, who's the chair of the rec board, said that his family and he get to view the messages on Facebook, and that it really helps his spirits. So if everybody's welcome to go, just like the page, and then just you could wish him luck and just pray for him and whatever. But it really is it's a nice thing. And just as far as the nepotism policy goes, as soon as I think the policy committee can meet, I think that it is important just to put this to rest and let us go through it. In my opinion, it should be strengthened, and it's just something I think we need to do and look at. So that's it. That's my piece.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Arminio?
Yes, just a small business matter, I think, a housekeeping matter, actually. Could we have, once again this year, the sign in the high school reflecting the meeting dates and time?
We are supposed to have the
noticed that it
meeting
was
dates and
missing this
signs.
month, and I just thought that maybe going forward, we may be able to have that. I know there were a lot of important things on there, and congratulations to the students that they posted. So, but I like a little short thing reminding people that we have our meetings. Also, I'd like to applaud President Kompanowicz and the administration for taking a proactive decision forward and putting all of the information online. It goes a long way for transparency. It gives people an opportunity to see what kind of work that we're doing, and I think it serves the public very well to be informed. So I appreciate the efforts for that. This last weekend, I attended the New Jersey School Boards Association trainings for new board members. It was extraordinarily exciting. It was intense. It was from Friday to Sunday afternoon. They kept us busy just about every minute. Met new board members from across the state, and I have a huge book to go through and learn about ethics, laws, and a lot of things. I'm looking forward to doing that, and it's sort of like a new dawn. There was a lot of mention that 10 years ago, the school board members didn't have the same kind of responsibilities, so I'm looking forward to going through everything, and I'm happy to learn more. So I appreciate, and it was no cost to the school system. The weekend was, and it was an overnight. They did provide meals, but it was done with grants from outside agencies. So it was no cost to the school board, no cost to us, just a lot of time, but it was well worth it.
Good.
And lastly, I'd like to send my best wishes and heartfelt concern for Mikey, his family, and his teammates, because I'm sure they're very concerned about it, but also to the wonderful students in Monroe who feel the concern, and I think it's a beautiful community, and I appreciate. So I wish him, the family, and his teammates the best going forward.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it was really amazing to see how this school district came together so quickly in support of him and
I've
to
seen
raise some money.
over the
It just-
years,
it was
I've
just
seen it.
overwhelming.
It's wonderful, and I thank the community for it.
Yeah. Anyone else? Mr. Precioso?
Dr. Hamilton mentioned about how we had to stop bus service because of the icy conditions. During the day, I listened to the news and...
Speak into the microphone, please. I don't want to miss anything that you say.
Okay. Last week, when Dr. Hamilton made a decision to take back and leave the buses on the side of the road, I listened to the news that day, and the radio said that there were 270 accident reports in Middlesex County and Monmouth County within 1 hour that morning. So I want to thank you for protecting our children, because from what I understand, we didn't have any accidents with our own buses and nobody was hurt. And because of the action of Dr. Hamilton, Mr. Gorski, and Doug from Transportation, our kids were safe, and it was a testament to how fast you responded on such a situation. So thank you.
Mr. Kaufman?
Back in October, we had the report on how all of our schools were doing with all the things that came back from the state, and I forgot what it's called. It used to be the QAR. It's got a new name, right? I had made a request that we see a breakdown school by school so we can see what the numbers are school by school. Can you tell me when we're going to see that? Next curriculum? Okay. And just one other thing that maybe we as a group need to think about. We're going to be setting up the ad hoc committee. We're going to be doing a lot of discussions around facilities and growth. Years ago, back in the good old days, we used to have Board of Ed meetings at individual schools. And I think it would be incredibly advantageous, given we actually have more folks now coming to board meetings than we did back in the day, to open it up, rotate the board meetings school by school, because it gives the public an opportunity to come in and see the facilities that we're going to be talking about through these ad hoc committee meetings. Typically, the general public really doesn't come to every school. They may come to a specific school if there's they're having a show or a play or whatever. But we have a lot of facilities in our district that are nice to show and we'd like to see more of, and it would be great to just have these meetings at different schools. Since we're talking about them individually, I'd like to be able to see the Brookside presentation in Brookside. Just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Antelis?
Unfortunately, we had another tragedy in town. I'm sure a lot of people don't know about it. We had a house burned down, in fact, I believe near you, a single mom with children in our school. I found out about it. I had contacted Dr. Hamilton, who contacted the principal of those children's school because the family lost everything. Thankfully, the police department and our fire departments got together and helped the family out. And when I contacted Dr. Hamilton, Ms. Dinsmore and Mr. Ventrilo got together and helped the children out with whatever supplies they had lost. So I thank you, and once again, the community coming together to help.
Mr. Boyd?
The demographer's report. If we have not yet done so, I would encourage that we send a copy of that to our planning board, because I know they wanted to see those figures so they could compare them to the figures of the firm that was doing their study, just to see how close those figures were. So I would make that recommendation. And my next comment is going to basically come totally out of the blue and maybe totally off the mark. But I only started thinking about it with the, yet again, shooting within a school in New Mexico, which I believe happened just yesterday, where 2 students were injured. And it seems that these things just continue to happen. And in most cases, and I don't know if it's true in all cases, but in most cases, it is often done by a member of that student body, by a student. And the student has gotten the weapon essentially from their own home. So I am proposing that the board discuss or look into how we might foster our state government adopting a law which essentially holds every gun owner responsible for making sure that their weapons are either totally disabled while they're in the house or they are totally under lock. Because if the child can't get to the weapon, then there's less chance that they can bring the weapon into school and do some damage. And I would suggest that maybe this would be a practical way that within the state of New Jersey, we could take a step to hopefully see that we don't have these kind of tragedies occur here in the state of New Jersey. I don't see that it would cost a lot of money. All it takes is some legislation, and somebody needs to get the ball rolling, and it has to start somewhere. So maybe as a Board of Education, we could appeal to the New Jersey State School Boards Association, as well as the New Jersey School Administrators Association, and any other groups like that, to sponsor some kind of legislation in the Assembly and in the Senate, and see if we can't get Governor Christie to sign that bill. The sooner we do this, I think the safer our schools will be. Because beyond that, I don't know how we're going to put a stop to these violent acts that are happening in the schools. When children have access to weapons, and those weapons are in the home, and those weapons are so easily obtained. I mean, look at that young child that was killed in Toms River. That was not a school shooting, but that was simply one kid going into his house, bringing out a gun, playing cops and robbers or whatever he was playing, and shooting the child of the neighbor. Just tragic. And that could have been avoided had there been a law that would have held that parent responsible for assisting, or whatever the proper legal terminology is, that if your child gets a weapon from your home and injures or kills someone else, then you as the parent are going to be responsible for that. Because I think we've let the parents off on that particular thing. But we've got to do something. And all this business with the NRA and gun control, I'm not getting into that. I'm simply saying what we can do to protect our children. So I would like for us to consider that somehow. I don't know what the forum is among the board here, but just give that some thought, and we can bring that up again maybe. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Zarneski.
I'd like to make mention of the Middlesex County School Board Association. Michelle had touched on training that we get as school board members. Our executive director in the past year has been going around the state and contacting the Middlesex County School Boards along with other county school boards and promoting learning availability to all board members. And all you have to do is go online to the New Jersey School Board Association's website, and it's all there for not just Middlesex County, but all the upcoming counties, all the other counties and upcoming events. And I'd like to thank Mr. Braverman here for going to the one in February, on February 5th, the student achievement one. It seems to be that Michelle hit it on the head where you need to be informed, you need to get as much information as you can, and just to let everybody know that the New Jersey School Boards, especially through Middlesex County School Boards, is on the forefront of bringing that training to us so we don't have to go traveling to Atlantic City and try to get everything crammed in 3 days. This is giving everybody an opportunity to do it on a month or every couple months whenever they can plan everything in. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, we will go to closed session resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Monroe hereby moves to go into closed session in accordance with the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10:4-6 through 10:4-21, to discuss the following subjects: personnel matter, employee 000408, and student matters, harassment, intimidation, and bullying, incidents 23 through 25. All, motion to... Who, was that Mr. Kaufman? Second, Mr. Notstein. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? At this time, the board will go into closed session. 15 minutes, we should be back. At this time, the board will reconvene into public session, and I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mr. Gorski for a point of clarification.
Members of the Board of Education, ladies and gentlemen, some additional information has become available on personnel items A through Q, specifically letter P, regarding the employee that was not passed with this consent roll call A through Q. That individual in this personnel recommendation will only be servicing Oak Tree School. It was confirmed that that person will not be servicing the Monroe Township High School in any capacity. Therefore, according to statute, the Jamesburg representative is ineligible to vote on that roll call, making the eligible voters on that roll call 9 and not 10. We had 5 yeas on that roll call, so the motion passes in its entirety. Sorry for the confusion.
Okay, at this time we will go to the public forum. Anyone wishing to speak to the board, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Charlie Lerman. I live at 11 Dorel Drive. The Township Master Plan...
Before you start, I just want to let you know, everybody know that we have 3 minutes. We're going to stick to our 3-minute time limit.
Thank you. The Township Master Plan allows for a significant number of non-age restricted clustered and non-clustered development. Presently, some 3,000, that's 3,000 homes, have either been approved and being developed or waiting to be developed or pending planning board approval. This would conservatively generate some 3,000 students into the system. This might only be the tip of the iceberg. Has any thought been given as to how you will address this massive influx of students into a system that is presently busting at the seams? It stands to reason that additional space will be needed within the schools, and possibly additional school or schools might be needed as well. What happens then to the quality of education given our students and the tax revenue needed to sustain the high quality of education given to our students that we all expect?
That is why that we are having the ad hoc committee. It is a community committee that is going to be tasked with giving the board a recommendation as to what they can support in for facilities. Do we need more schools? Do we want to add on to schools? If we need to do something where we're going to expand, we're going to need a referendum, and we would need the support of the community. So the community is going to get involved in giving us the recommendation, and that will be where the board will...
Has any comments been made by the school board to the planning board regarding the concerns that you all have?
Yes.
And would you like to share those?
They understand that their planning and their building has an impact on the school district. I've spoken to them. I know the administrators have spoken to them. I know other board members have spoken to them. We've also attended planning board meetings.
Okay. And I assume that you're not in favor of the master plan as it presently exists, which allows for this unrestricted age development?
The board has no say in the development of the community. We are not a part of the master plan. We have no say in the master plan. That is a township.
That legally? Legally you have no say, or you
Right.
just choose not to?
No, we have no say.
Is that
The
legally?
responsibility of the Board of Education is to educate all the children that come into the community. That is our responsibility. We do not get involved in planning the community or developing the community. That is the responsibility of the township.
I would think, with all due respect, I would think that considering this is going to have a dramatic impact on the school system, that maybe you should reconsider your feelings regarding getting more involved in planning. That's what
We can't just invite ourselves to be on the planning board.
Well, you
or
can attend meetings, and you can, as board members, I think you can, and exert your influence on them, because, as I said, this is completely out of control, and taxes and the school system is going to
Yes.
burst. And without your input, it's going to be a real serious problem going forward. And I have maybe one more minute? I'll only use one more minute. Okay. At a recent school board meeting, Mr. Kaufman made a statement downplaying the importance of the newly elected members because they do not have students in schools, thus implying that only those that have children in the system are more qualified than those that do not, regarding making decisions that best serve the system. The school board should represent the interests of all citizens of Monroe Township and not just those that have children attending schools. Monroe Township has many senior communities, and many in those communities have a wealth of experience in education. Am I led to believe that Mr. Kaufman would discount their qualifications because they do not have children in the system? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Good evening, Mr. Homoki.
I'm here and alive. Joe Homoki, 61 Hoffman Road. The last ad hoc committee meeting was March 19, 2013, exactly. We had 3 meetings. And I just want to say at that last meeting, we did make a decision, made 2 recommendations to the board. One recommendation was, based on what Mr. Tate told us, is that he can provide or find 7 classrooms at Applegard School. And we found that that was a very good statement, and that we encouraged him to pursue that. So one of the recommendations that we had was that, yes, let's get those 7 classrooms, and I think there's been references to it, trying to get money for it and everything else. And the second recommendation, which I think was a very wise recommendation, the demographic study that we had, the committee felt that it was not adequate. It didn't really reflect what's going to happen in Monroe Township. And so the recommendation was that we have a new demographic study, which I understand is just about, well, done now. You got it about 2 weeks ago, and that's the one we're going to work with. So it took almost a year, if it's going to be in March or so, almost a year to have the next meeting, but I think it was worth waiting for, because as the gentleman said, there's so much going on in Monroe Township that we hope that the recommendations that we come up with will be meaningful to the board. So that's one point. And the second thing is, about 7 years ago, I was on a pilot program sponsored by the State Department of Education through Montclair State College. And I was an evaluating team. We had 5 districts picked out, the state picked out 5 districts, and there were 5 member teams. And the evaluation that we did at that time became the model of what you are experiencing, and every school district is experiencing every 2 or 3 years, whatever that is, I don't exactly know. And I was in charge of governance in Jersey City, and I spent 20 days in the Jersey City School District just dealing with governance. And one of the things they did was they had committees as a whole. Every board member could attend every one of the committee meetings. And I brought this concept back to our board because I was president of the board at that time. And it was very favorably received. I think we have like 6 or 7 new board members who were not present at that time. And I feel that by doing what you have done, cutting out other board members from just sitting there and listening, you are depriving them of some very important information. I think it's a different...
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, let me just finish. I think it's...
Your time is up.
Yeah, but I had, all right.
I know.
I just want to
You could
tell
come
you that
back and
I hope
speak after
I hope
everybody
you
else.
reconsider
We
that.
will.
And I think there's an awful lot of value in all board members being able to listen to what the discussions are all about.
Thank you.
So please consider that.
Anyone else from the public? Please come up to the microphone.
Stephen Ryback, 23 Riviera Drive. For clarification, the $2.5 million being returned for tax relief is because it's required by law?
Do you want to take that?
Madam? Yes. Unspent bond referendum proceeds can be handled either to be spent on the project in accordance with the question that the voters approved, or you could refund the bonds and apply it against principal, or you could apply it against the amortization schedule to pay principal in the forthcoming school year. So the Board of Education, consistent with how it's handled this for the last 2 years, is applying it on an installment basis so that there's not a massive amount of tax stimulus one year with a massive rateable increase in the next year.
Okay. I just have another comment. As a resident sitting in the audience today, I was a little upset at the tone Mr. Braverman used in addressing Mr. Precioso. While literally there was nothing wrong with his words, there was a lot of sarcasm there. And I think that is very unprofessional. I think it shows divisiveness on this board. And it's certainly not an example that you should be setting for members of this community as board members. I think that that's your personal differences should be those kept there or behind closed doors. But when you sit here, you're an example, and I think you should act a lot more professionally than was displayed by him. And I think you owe him an apology.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Bob Zaglarski, 162 Tournament Drive. Regarding facilities, back in, I believe it was November, there was an agenda item that regarding capital reserve account maximum amount, and it was talking about 124 projects over a 5-year period at a total cost of about $8 million. And then recently we received from the superintendent in a publication called The School Story, a description of some grants that you were actually discussing tonight, and that amounted to about $5 million in total. My question is, are those $5 million included in that $7 million, and maybe could you just expand a little bit about what that $7 million is all about? Certainly not in great detail, 124 projects. But it brings me back to financing of projects, and I just wanted to remind you of that plan that I keep going to the Borough Council with, that I had while I was running for Town Council. Of course, I didn't win, but I'm still interested in helping the Board of Ed in financing some of their construction projects. Basically, the plan is all about when developers build new homes, they pay sewer connection fees. They also generate new students. They pay those fees to the Monroe Township Utilities Department, which builds up as a surplus. Now, the mayor and council then transfer that money, that surplus money from the Utilities Department to the town budget. Over the past 4 years, they've transferred $40 million, and they use that to expand municipal spending, $16 million of which went to cover tax appeals. The plan that I suggest calls for a portion of that sewer connection fee to be distributed to the Board of Ed from the township government to the Board of Ed, so that the Board of Ed could use it for covering the initial cost of construction and renovation of new classrooms, or paying down a portion of the debt resulting from the construction. And certainly, this is the type of money that could be used as your local share for ROD grants, and maybe if the township council is willing, it might be able to help you in that emergent issue of the renovation of capacity-generating classrooms to address overcrowding at the middle school. And also, just one final question, is the Applegarth boiler, is that the only one in the school, or are there two?
Mr. Gorski?
Yes, Mr. Zaglarski, as you mentioned, there was a resolution recently establishing the capital reserve, identifying the projects, and all that information comes from the long-range facility plan. The last plan that was submitted in its entirety and approved by the state was in 2008, and much of the information that's contained in that resolution still comes from that. That plan is constructed to help districts plan and on an installment basis meet the facility needs throughout the district, and also anticipate the costs and any state aid that may be available for said projects. The ROD grants that you referred to in the school story, authored by Dr. Hamilton, were all included in the long-range facility plan, because any plan that you have to submit for approval for requires an update of the long-range facility plan with its inclusion. So our long-range facility plan was updated for all of these projects. Certainly the roofs and the windows and a lot of these bigger items were in there already, but like the classroom space creation was probably not, but has certainly been sent in as an amendment. The boiler, yes. In Applegarth School, there is two boilers. One is a steam boiler, and one is a hot water boiler that was added later with an addition to the school. The one that recently had a trouble was a pipe related to the steam boiler. And as we discussed in the Building, Grounds, and Transportation Committee, this steam boiler probably dates back into the 1950s. But because of that construction, it's a very reliable machine. It has ancillary parts that are subject to wear and breakage, but the unit is like an old engine block. You know, it continues to function, and it would take a catastrophic event in order to really destroy it in its entirety, and we do have boiler insurance for such an event.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Good evening. Hello, my name is Karen O'Grady, and I reside at 4 Mountain Ash Court right here in Monroe. I have a graduating senior. Her name is Lauren. She has been a student in this Monroe Township School District since kindergarten through this final year of high school. I believe it will be shameful to have our graduation ceremony in our high school gym. I've been to both our daughter and our son's 8th grade graduation ceremonies in the middle school gym, and both times it was a terribly hot and humid day and not enjoyable at all in the gym without any air conditioning. It was extremely sweaty and smelly, and each time our two other children had to watch their sibling graduate on a screen in the PAC Center at the middle school. I remember each one vividly, and each time their grandparents had to surpass this achievement due to not enough space being available for them to attend. Another issue with having the graduation in the gym is that I was informed if we do this year, we risk losing the Sun Bank for future years. I was also told that within 2 years, which is when my son, who's a sophomore now, will graduate, we will not be able to fit mom and dad in the gym due to our growing student population. I feel very strongly that this graduation should be in some type of venue with air conditioning, and that seniors be allowed to have their siblings, as well as other family and friends, there to watch them receive their diploma. This type of milestone should most certainly be celebrated in front of family. I thank you for listening to me tonight, and I hope you'll continue searching for another venue, because the thought of it being in this gym, as much as I adore this high school and it's a beautiful facility, is absolutely ridiculous. Are you looking at other venues?
Dr. Hamilton?
We have looked at other venues. There is still one pending that we have not excluded from our search.
Well, I appreciate that. I obviously reached out to numerous senior parents, friends, and numerous people couldn't be here tonight. So unfortunately, I hope I'm not alone with this, but
you're not. I've
it's
received
my
emails.
opinion, and I just find it crazy, absolutely crazy. And I look at her face, and how do I explain to her that, again, she can't have her siblings there, let alone the rest of her family, to celebrate this, again, milestone in her life. But thank you.
Thank you.
Ira Tesla, 11 Elliott Drive. I'm just going to concur on the previous speaker. As a board member, I attended 7 graduations. The first one I attended was out here on the football field in a torrential downpour. I know Kathy was there. I believe your son graduated that. Did your son graduate? Yes. And that was not a fun experience. After that, I attended every single graduation at Sunbank Arena, including my own daughters. We got to invite just about as many family members as we can, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins. It was always a wonderful, dignified event, and I would like to see that continue in the future. Having a graduation at the high school would be too constrained. If we have it outside, you always risk the weather. If you have it inside, you can't share that with your family members, and it's a wonderful achievement that your student has spent 13 years, including kindergarten, of their public education. And to culminate that by not being able to share it with your family would be a sad thing. So I encourage the board and who is ever responsible to look for another venue, and if it means maybe changing the schedule, so be it. The kids deserve that. The kids deserve to be in a venue and graduate with dignity, and to have their family members there and present, and not just 1 or 2 parents. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? You please come to the microphone.
John Kuhns, 11 Fox Run. In reference to the previous discussion on the lockdown at the middle school the other day and the hunting in the back of that there, I would suggest to the board that you folks officially communicate with the town council and make a recommendation that they can reconsider their restrictions on the hunting, not only by the middle school, but any of our schools. I believe that's actually controlled by town ordinance, and they could change the ordinance to just push the hunting farther back from the school so it wouldn't interfere. Because my impression is that a lockdown immediately halts the educational process in the school. It calls for first responders, police, and medical personnel, including the state police and the helicopter. Big expense and very time-consuming for people who could be doing other things. And worst of all, I think the anxiety it creates with parents who have children in the schools. They hear there's a lockdown at the school and they're worried about their kids. So once again, I would suggest that the board officially communicate with the town council and request that they reconsider their limitations on hunting near the schools, which I think they could do by, resolution. And I have 2 questions. The discussion on relatives working in the town with board members. Do we know how many board members have relatives employed by the board?
Right now, how many current board members? 2.
2, okay. And then one other question is your electric bill. Do we know what the annual electric bill for the board is?
Beg your pardon, annual electric bill for what?
The board.
The board?
You pay, the Board of Education pays.
Yeah, I don't have the budget for that particular account with me, but if you wish to give me a call or email me, I'll be happy to provide it to you.
Okay. You don't have a guesstimate on what we pay every year for electricity?
Hazard a guess. That's something that's subject to change quite frequently with the rates. I could tell you that next year's increase is 8%, but I don't know what the aggregate amount, I don't recall from last year.
Okay. And the schools are all involved in this thing that the town did for all residents in the town? We have to buy our electricity through the company the town has signed up with.
We purchase our electricity through a purchasing consortium called ACES, and it's run through the Middlesex County Regional Lead Service Commission.
Okay.
And we have very, very attractive rates on our electric program.
Okay.
I'll show you that.
Okay, so I can give you a call. You'll have that number for me in the next few days?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Joanne Cardone, Gravel Hill, Spotswood Road. I know I have brought this up before the board in the past, and I'm going to bring it up again, and I will probably continue to bring it up because I think it's a real need. The high school currently has coordinators in charge of the people in their department. Years ago, the board eliminated the department head positions supposedly to save the taxpayers money, and they created K-12 supervisor positions. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Before my time.
All right, well, needless to say, that's not the issue right now. My issue is, having worked under both a department head for many years in this building and also under coordinators, there is a distinct difference between their job descriptions. Next year, we're going to have to take the PARC test, which will be given to all of our students, since they're eliminating the HESPA. There will be 6 different math tests given. Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and then Math 1, 2, and 3, which I'm not sure what that's all about. We probably have approximately 4 to 5 teachers teaching the same math levels. The curriculum in math is quite different from that of language arts because of the ability levels and the skills that you're covering. I feel a distinct need for a department head in the building who can monitor what is going on in the classroom, who can offer guidance to those teachers who might need it, who can mentor them, implement or make sure that the curriculum is being implemented across the board so that there is equality in all the classrooms to prepare these students for that PARC test. I know for a fact from working in this building for 35 years, or I should say in the district, and subbing for the last 4 years, that the teachers are doing an excellent job. I've been in several classrooms. I've worked with several teachers. We have a dynamic staff here. But if there were a supervisor within the building for each of the disciplines, it would provide more consistent equality, especially in the math. The math is a real area of need. But I know you're not going to just put one in math. You would have to put it across the board. But somewhere the board has got to find the money to have that person within the building to provide the leadership to these teachers and to help them provide the consistency in the curriculum.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Mary Ann Lester, 44 Avenue I. Both the administrative and teachers union contracts do not expire until June 30th of this year. And I was wondering why it was a priority to have the administration's contracts voted on and approved prior to the new members being on the board and not the teachers union contract. Why were they handled differently?
The administrators, the Monroe Township Administrators Association, requested to have probably back in August to start negotiations. The MTEA, I just received a request from them this week to start negotiations.
Okay, but the old members aren't going to be involved in the new budgets, and this contract that the old members vote on, they're not going to be voting on the current budget that's coming up. So isn't it more a priority that you would have had the new members involved in approving the administration contract, since they have more weight in it, because now they're going to be voting on the budget for the coming year?
Well, the document is a 3-year document, so it changes with the board every year. Every year you have a new board. So whatever one board approves, the next 3 boards have to abide by that contract.
But you had the discretion of waiting until the new members came in, and and they're the ones that are going to be voting on the budget. So you did have that discretion of waiting.
We did. We checked with our attorney, and the attorney said that we did not handle it wrong.
Okay, so the answer is you could because it was legal.
Yes, and because of the requests from the MTAA. If they didn't request negotiations, we wouldn't have negotiated with them, but they did, and it only took 2 meetings to come up with an agreement, and therefore we approved it.
Okay. Is there anyone else on the board other than you that can respond to my question?
I don't think there's anyone else that needs to respond to that question.
Or another opinion other than yours?
Policy.
It's not.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Lou Masters, 9 McKellar. I have a bunch of stuff, so I'm going to whip through it.
You have 3 minutes.
I know. Disappointed with the ROD grants. I know they'd given us not a verbal okay, but I would urge Ms. Antelis that we do push forward with the stopgap for the middle school. I know you said you are. That's the transportation department. Yeah, great job. From a member of the public, kids worried about buses. Great job with that last week. The Pray for Mikey. In addition to the Facebook site, there's also a Give Forward site. Hashtag Pray for Mikey. So if anybody wants to go on there, everybody. I'm happy that the ad hoc is reconvening. Just a note, there's another development that just went up, a sign towards 33. It's totally new. I don't have the numbers, but I'm already seeing, by my numbers, we're going to see about 1,700 additional students, and that's conservative. So even if you divide that by the number of schools, we're talking hundreds of students in addition. I think this is and I think the public should really get involved because it's a very important thing. We really got to start talking about some things we don't want to talk about. The teachers union contract is up. I wish the board members would keep in mind the excellent teachers that we have and how hardworking they are. Thank you. Reassessments. Mike, I'm glad you talked about reassessments. I know I've been hearing through the grapevine is a good deal of the reassessments, the ratables went down. So I'm worried that we might want to keep in mind that if the actual ratables go down again this year, we might have a problem. So I know you discussed it. And I was going to complain about the Applegarth boilers, but I thought I wouldn't kick that horse. The hunting near the school, I have a big problem with that, and I agree with the other discussion. I believe it's a county ordinance, Middlesex County, and there's a certain distance, and I know the park, they were legal what they were doing, but I really do urge the board to look into changing that. I mean, you're talking, if they were 400 feet, which I heard is what they were, some of those rifles, which it wasn't bow hunting season, they can bring down a 400-pound animal 1,000 yards. So, I mean, that's definitely going to go through sheetrock. It'll go through most of the cinder blocks in the school, which are hollow, and it could do some definite damage. Back in the 80s in Woodbridge, there was a police firing range, and what had happened, police range too, all legal, a ricochet from a handgun now went about 450 feet into somebody's house. And what they did was the township passed an ordinance, no more firing range, no more firing. And this was a police range that they actually got rid of and removed. I really urge that the board should look into either pressuring or talking to the town or whoever we have to talk to about maybe, like we said, like we have the drug-free school zone, maybe a gun for hunting-free zone, and I know we have the park and all that. But I have a definite problem with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Masters, I will just definitely be speaking with town council about amending that ordinance. It's already on my agenda.
Thank you. That's what I like.
Mr. Gorski?
Mr. Masters, your comment about the ratables, I didn't want to announce this tonight because it's preliminary and it's very subject to change. Again, the ratables will not be certified until March 15th, and there are some significant appeals that are still open. But as of this juncture, the ratables appear more favorable than last year. So
that's a very reserved way of saying that, Mike.
I didn't want you to be despondent that you were anticipating a drop in ratables. In fact, the opposite will probably be the case.
I understand what you're saying. Thank you.
Anyone else after I close? Anyone else from the public? After everybody gets a chance to speak.
Cheryl Ranieri, 30 Inverness Court. I have 2 children in the middle school, and I wanted to talk about the incident that happened yesterday. I agree with what everybody said about looking to see about hunting around the school, but I wanted to know if there's going to be any post-mortem on the communication that was done to parents and the community in general regarding the incident. We did receive a phone call from Mrs. Shanley, which was appreciated, but it didn't start with everything's okay. It started with there were gunshots heard, the police were called, and about 60 seconds in, then she said that everything was okay. We did not get any kind of phone mail, email blast from anybody at the school or even Dr. Hamilton when there is a snowstorm or school closings. And the way a lot of other parents heard that did not have children in the middle school was seeing something posted on NJ.com saying that there was a lockdown at the school. As far as my children, my 8th grader didn't know anything. He was upstairs. My 6th grader was in the classroom, and she saw police officers outside with guns. And there was nothing said in school that there was an incident. They were told that it was a drill. And they didn't know that parents were notified, and really what happened until after they came home. So I wanted to know what was going to be done as far as looking at the communication strategy for future incidents.
Dr. Hamilton?
Well, I'm a little confused because you said there wasn't communication, then you spoke about the method of communication not being most appropriate. I think it was handled well. I think Mrs. Chanley communicated, we were all communicating the same message, the police department, the superintendent's office, the school, the entire district was notified by way of an all-staff email, which was the same press release that we had provided to the district. I don't know that there was a better way to do it.
So you don't think that elementary school parents should have known about this as well, rather than hearing it or seeing it somewhere else, rather than...
I don't think it rises to that occasion. No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay. I disagree, because I think that that is a pretty serious incident that would happen, and I would think all parents would want to know.
I would agree with you if the police had not confirmed almost immediately that it was the result of hunting. If it was something that was unknown or we weren't certain about it, then maybe I would feel a little differently about that. But it really was handled in my expectation, from my perspective, in collaboration with the chief of police. I think it was handled appropriately.
As a parent, that's really disappointing.
Right.
Anyone else from the public?
Hi, my name is Christine Lester. I'm at 261 Cranberry Half-Acre Road. I would like to piggyback with what Mrs. Ranieri said. The message was alarming. I did actually know about the circumstance before I got the alert now. But usually when the nurse calls, the first thing is like, everything's okay. And then they go into like, so-and-so spilled water on their pants. So it was very alarming. I just wish that, obviously Ms. Chanley was obviously upset. Even if it came from Mr. Hamilton, that probably would have been appreciated. I want to ask the board's recommendation. I really think we need to consider doing a referendum. I know with Oak Tree and Applegarth we have at least 100 new students, and I know we also have ones that travel abroad and then come back and re-enroll, and those numbers actually would be inflated. I know personally that the boiler at Applegarth has gone out twice, both boilers, so for them to say that they're wonderful, it's really not. The administration and the staff are doing the best that they can do with the circumstances, and it's not their issue. We knew going in when we opened Applegarth that there was issues. We knew the boiler would be one. There's other issues in the other schools. I think we really just need to figure out some way to fix it. I mean, we keep putting Band-Aids on it. If the boiler's going to keep breaking, is there an insurance policy maybe that we can consider getting a new one? I know that there's not funds here. I know we're here to cut taxes and things, but the kids can't be cold. And I know Mr. V really went out of his way to keep the kids warm and bringing in space heaters and moving them around. But it's not the atmosphere that I want my child in. On that note, I think if we did build a new school or find some other way to provide heating and cooling units, we have to look at that the school is not ADA compliant. And one of those big issues is the school has high levels of CO2. We're supposed to keep the windows open. If it's 27 degrees out, we're not keeping the windows open. So when you have children that have compromised immune system, respiratory issues that are impacted by those high CO2 levels and the windows are shut because it's freezing outside, you're going to have children like mine have issues. And I think we just need to readdress that because there's new members of the board that are not aware of that. We really just need to look at the bigger picture. We're going to need a new school. We need to fix this. If we build a new school, we can do the solar panels and all that other fun stuff and make money for the district. We have to do something. I wanted to mention the ADA compliance, and I also wanted to address something with Mr. Poi had mentioned something about the gun laws and stuff. I believe that there are, if you are held accountable, so I think that it is a national law. But again, I really want the board just to really look at, we have to fix something. I know money's tight, but the kids need heat. It's just a basic necessity. And we knew that the boiler's going to go. We know that other schools have issues with their roofs and things. And I know you guys are going into the purse, and there's no money in there. I get it. But we just have to look at a bigger picture. We have more and more children coming in. My son has new students coming on his bus. His bus is now 20 minutes later because they're picking up new students. I've heard other kids where their buses are being rerouted because there's more students, and they've changed the busing route. So obviously, we're going to have more students coming in the district.
Thank you, and all those issues that you brought up will be part of the conversation that the ad hoc committee will be having. And again, I'm going to ask anybody from the public who wishes to be part of that conversation to come to that meeting.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Cardone, Gravel Hill, Spotswood Road. I feel the need to mention the difference because we have so many new board members since I brought this topic up before, there's a need for them to understand the difference between a coordinator and a department chair. Coordinators are staff members who have absolutely no supervisory responsibilities. I'm not sure what the job description is. I know budgets are involved, but they cannot do any observing. And with all the new laws regarding how many evaluations teachers need, that would be a major difference. Many of them have supervisory certificates, which would enable them to do observations if the title was changed to department head, in addition to changing, the other requirements. And one question I have is there a possibility of ever putting speed bumps in front of the high school? Seem to be several complaints.
Do we have an answer to that?
Want me to take the speed bumps? Ma'am, administration, along with the Township of Monroe and the township engineer, have looked at the traffic flow at the high school, and the revisions were made at the school already to change the traffic pattern to try to alleviate the congestion and the problems that were occurring with students in and out and the traffic. But speed bumps were strongly discouraged, if not prohibited, by the township.
I think it's primarily the front of the building where the staff is coming in, and there's so much traffic going through. 2 lanes. I've seen it myself.
Well,
they not only do a drop-off.
Thank you, but I'm reiterating what the township had told us during our meetings with them.
So they're saying there's no need or it can't be done.
It was strongly discouraged. We have speed bumps in front of the middle school. It resulted in numerous lawsuits with trip and falls. And with emergency vehicles going in and out of the school, it was discouraged strongly from the township zoning officials.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Hi, Kareem Masters, 9 Michaela Court. And I know Mr. Gorsu's probably going to have to answer my question on behalf of Mr. Tague, but what does Mr. Tague consider to be critical in terms of the boiler? He said it wasn't a critical problem, so I don't know what.
Yes, I'd be happy to talk about that. There's 2 boilers again at Applegarth, and the steam boiler, the older one of the 2, had 2 problems this year. One, a computer part that controls the firing in the unit, which is only 10 years old, failed. And so that computer part that's only 10 years old failed and had to be replaced. As soon as the store that houses this component was open the next morning, our maintenance person was there, and there was really no disruption. The second piece was due to...
Well, I was there that day, and that was actually 2 half-days that that boiler was out.
Well,
because I was happened to be there for a meeting, and I was sweating because the other boiler was turned way up to compensate for the boiler being out.
That's probable. And the second event happened due to the fact that we had an Arctic blast with sub-zero temperatures, and the pipe froze and broke. And that's not uncommon. It was actually anticipated and discussed amongst administration. And Energy for America, which monitors the school's electrical use, made a proactive change in the usage to keep it running higher and longer, whether the building was occupied or not. But the cold still hit the pipe in a way that it broke. And again, that happened throughout numerous school districts in the state.
Right, yeah, no, but, okay. But back to my question, so what does Mr. Tate consider to be a critical problem? So like, I don't understand, like, how many more times does he have to go out? Does the boiler have to catch fire? Like, what is considered to be critical?
Critical, I don't want to speak for Mr. Tague, but
Well, I
critical
don't
would be
know.
something that affects the safety and comfort of the school. And these were parts that needed to be replaced or a pipe that had to be repaired, not a critical malfunction of the unit.
And then, and then with the upcoming teacher contract, I just want everybody to keep in mind that we have really great teachers here. Like, I've been happy with all of my children's teachers for the last 5 years that we've been in this district, so I hope you realize that and that they're worth, more than they're getting paid, so they all definitely deserve, raises as opposed to pay freezes or pay cuts and things like that nature. So, that's it.
Anyone else?
John Kuhns, 11 Fox Run. I'm back again. Just on a discussion on the hunting type thing there, maybe a little clarification so people don't panic on that. In New Jersey, hunting rifles are not allowed. They can only use shotguns. And at 300 feet, a shotgun isn't going to blow that cup off that table. So parents need not worry that hunters out there, their bullets are going to go through the windows of the walls of the school, because rifle hunting is prohibited in the state of New Jersey. That's
Okay,
all.
thank you. Is there anyone else from the public? Seeing none, we will close the public forum. I know, Ms. Arminio, did you have a question?
I just want a quick comment. If we do communicate with the township and/or the county, which I would agree that the board should, I think could we also communicate with the PTAs and also ask the parents to get involved and maybe write some letters if they're concerned that we should also notify as many parents as we can. And, participation from the board is one thing, but when parents start writing letters and everything, so that I would like as a conjunction with that.
Dr. Hamilton has monthly meeting with all the PTA presidents. And
That would be something I would encourage.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, our next scheduled Board of Education meeting will be Monday. What? I thought February 3rd is Monday. Is it Monday? Will be Monday, February 3rd, 7 o'clock at the high school. Motion to adjourn, Mr. Kaufman?
Second.
Mr. Zarneski, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Meeting is adjourned.